consists of the US and Canada, so you got just two countries with two different ideals that come into the same server. While Europe has dozens of countries of different people from different regions, different languages, so they come up with different ways of playing the game.
I think right now, because we just got into Season 4, there isn't that much standing out between the two regions. I think the work ethic is a bit different, but that's mainly from where you have to practice on your own.
I think NA in general is a bit more oriented into entertainment, and EU is a bit more like based on performance.
The differences between EU and NA honestly are probably the lanes. EU is more known for having good mid laners, and NA is more known for having great AD carries, because mid laners in EU are like Froggen, the other guys that play mid, and then the AD carries for NA, we've got me, the other people that play AD.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming to you live from our new studios here in Cologne, Germany. And of course, it is going to be the Battle of the Atlantic. So these teams will be playing in a best of 3. And first up, it's going to be Alliance versus Team Dignitas. They are fighting for 1 point in the battle.
Yeah, and the big story coming into this match is Alliance's new roster, and also their new name, which was officially announced actually only on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Froggen and Wicked are remaining from the old Evil Geniuses squad that used to be here in Europe. Shook is new in the jungler. He was playing on the Copenhagen Wolves, and is probably the most hyped jungler I've ever seen coming into this one. Everyone has been talking him up as the best jungler in Europe, but he's never really played on an LCS caliber stage here. Also, their bottom lane is Tabs, who was on Levin Dogs, and this guy Kazmich, who came from solo queue, who's actually still being tried out to become an official member of this team.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him. First game on this studio stage, that's pretty huge. And of course, Dignitas, they're no stranger to changes themselves. They went 13 wins, 15 losses during the summer, and they've only made a couple of adjustments.
Yeah, they shook a few things up. You know, Cruiser the Bruiser in the top lane is their kind of newest addition to the team. He's the only new member they've been able to add. He's a consistent tank top laner, but he's not like a superstar. No one's hyping Cruiser like there are Shook over on the Alliance side. And then they've actually lost Patoy, who was one of their best supports in the North American LCS, and they've moved Kiwi Kid down there from the top lane. That's mainly because he has so much synergy with I'm a Cutie Pie, and they're just banking on him being able to make that transition.
Well, we'll see how that synergy works out, of course, because coming into this match, both teams are very much aware of the hype surrounding Alliance. And while Froggen is determined to get his new team off to a winning start, Skara and Team Dignitas would love nothing more than to stop the hype train in its tracks.
I think it means a fair bit that we actually have to show off, especially now because I'm in a new team. Sure, it's nice to win and have the pride to say EU is better than NA, but it doesn't matter as much as our own results.
Well, playing against Alliance, the team has a lot of hype behind it. Europe teams that are scrimming against them say they're great. Casters say they're great. People say they're great. When we beat them, that already settled like half the dispute already.
During the seasons, we have only been playing against European teams. And now that we're going to play against American teams in the Battle of Atlantic, it's really important to me because I want to represent my region and I want to dominate America.
I'm excited to play against anyone. It's been like 2 months since the last game we played, so I just want to play.
I love Cutie Pie. I've always watched his streams, so I'm actually looking forward to playing against him.
I mean, there's a cash prize at the end, but honestly, it's just a fun show match in between the two regions for relegations. I really want to win though. Like, we didn't fly overseas just to lose.
I love that. It's like, it's just a fun match, but
yeah,
really
I feel like he has a bit more on the stakes line than this. I mean, Scar is someone who really cares what the public thinks of Dignitas in general. Plus, they've had some ups and downs in the past. Winning this game would mean a lot to that team.
Yeah, and of course, both these teams, because they didn't get to the World Championships, they have a lot to prove. You know, these guys want to win things. So let's check out those starting lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be Alliance. In the top, it will be Wicked. Jungle is Shook. Good, not God. That's what we're told. We'll see how that works works out. Mid laner is Froggen. Tabs the AD carry, and support, well, he's the new trial man, Kazmich.
And of course, on the red side, it is Dignitas hailing from North America. The top lane is Cruiser the Bruiser, or Cruiser as he likes to go. He's the new top laner. Crumbs, of course, still the jungler. Scar, the star mid laner for Dignitas. He was an all-star last year. And I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid in the bottom lane, trying that new synergy. And we'll see how Kiwi Kid does with his now debut on support.
I can hear them laughing from here.
They get along. That's
them.
one thing. Let's see what happens if they start dying a few times in the game. Yeah. They're still laughing.
The faces changes may happen, but our featured matchup in today's Battle of the Atlantic, well, of course, who else will be focused on? It is the melee in the mid lane. It is Froggen versus Skara.
Yeah, and this is a classic matchup, really. They've been battling each other since early Season 2. Now that we're in the 2014 season, it's been a while. But they both really became known because of their heavy farm styles. They both kind of battled each other for the top CS, or first person to 300 CS on Karthus.
Yeah.
First it was Scar, then it was Froggen. And even last season, they had very similar statistical KDAs. Froggen at 4.4 and Scar at 3.5. And it kind of fell apart for Scar in the end there. Very low KDA in the playoffs, whereas Froggen stepped up a lot.
Absolutely. Some fantastic matches for them. Honestly, Froggen and Wicked, you know, with the Evil Geniuses team that's now gone over to America, they had been together for 2 years coming into this one. So this is a big change for those guys.
I know, and Froggen is very open to all of this change that's going to be coming in. He actually was very open in a vlog he just released, talking about how he really wanted to move on to a team that he thought had a better chance of making it to the World Championships, because that's the end goal for Froggen. Everyone respects him as one of the top mid laners in the world, and for him to not be at the World Championships, I think really took a big toll for him, and he thinks this new team can get him there.
So as we're approaching picks and bans, the problem surely arises for Dignitas, because how do you do research on a team that's just come together?
I know, especially when you have a player like Kazmich, who's just kind of out of solo queue. You never know how he's done on the AD carry support lane. I think you just talk to as many people as you can, and you do as much scrimming. Crumbs, though, doesn't know exactly what all the hype of Shook is about. He's heard it. I was talking with him earlier. We kind of both went, yeah, this guy has so much hype behind him, but where do we really see it? Yeah, he's had some good games with Copenhagen Wolves, but the amount that everyone is talking Shook up is like the best jungler. We just got to see it. Oh, his ganks just work. He has amazing synergy with Froggen. What do those things really mean? We need to see them in game.
Yeah, well, we heard from Aaron A yesterday saying he was singing the praises, but also talking to some other junglers. You know, the egos maybe rubbing a little bit. They're like, yeah, he's good, but we're better.
If you're your own LCS player, whenever someone else says this other guy is great, you're just like,
no,
nah, man.
No, I'm better than him. But we'll see how this develops, because this is game one. The Battle of the Atlantic, the hype, the Europe versus NA, it's all back on, guys. Get those spam in the forum and Twitch chat, no doubt. I could just only imagine how it is right now. USA. I had to suffer.
Is there one
those
for
chants.
EU? I don't think there's one for EU. It's like USA, and then it's like EU.
No, we don't chant that because we don't need to.
Yeah, it's the European Alliance.
No, we just don't need to chant USA. We just don't have a chance. I mean, we're not going to chat EU because mostly we don't get on.
So this is really confusing to me, actually, what just happened in picks and bans. I was expecting Alliance to target ban Kiwi Kid's supports a little bit, because he mainly just plays Tarek and Annie, and they've only went for the Annie ban. So I would actually think they'll pick Tarek eventually. I don't think it's going to come around to the other side on Kazmich.
Fast picks coming through here. Shyvana and Olaf locked in. These are big ones. Froggen highlighting Anivia. Pretty sure he's not going to lock that one in. But these two champions that Dignitas picked here, they are big in 2014 so far.
They've already picked a monstrous tank line on the side of Dignitas. We'll let Froggen and Wicked have their moment, though.
Yeah.
Aurelia and Anivia. They're the ones that have been together for a while.
Guys.
They'll switch it up soon. Really, though, while they're playing with champions, the tank line here from Dignitas, it's interesting because Olaf was banned at all 4 matches yesterday, or in the Relic Promotion tournament. It's going to be the jungle Olaf and the top lane Shyvana. That fits Cruiser's champion pool, and Olaf is very huge early on in the jungle for Crumbs, who can play a farming style. Those are both really solid starters.
Kazak's a champion that Scar's been playing a lot of in solo queue. I know that for a fact because I've been looking at his builds. So I was checking that one out. But it does look like Lucian, who has become effectively one of the flavors since he came out, one of the favorites, and Renekton in that top lane. These are champions that some of these champions just weren't making in 3 picks and bans in the promo series yesterday.
No, definitely not. I mean, Renekton, because we had Youngbuck in that series, he only got to play it once.
Yeah.
You saw why he only got to play it once, because he dominated with it. And it's kind of a classic pick for Wicked. Wicked has always been a tanky top laner who likes to sit up there and farm and just kind of be an immovable object. That kind of pick makes sense for him.
these picks, I tell you what, there's some strong champions getting through
Dignitas
for
is getting what they
Dignitas
want.
here. They have got Siva now, Gragas for Skara. Well, we've seen Skara on Gragas throughout Season 3, but Siva, I'm interested to see how Cutie Pie is going to run this one.
Yeah, I look at Dignitas' entire composition, though, and it seems like they're getting almost nothing denied from them.
Yes.
Sure, Skara didn't get to play Kha'Zix, but if we're talking about the old Season 2 throwback, Skara's always been a big-time Gragas player. They got the tank line they wanted. I'm a Cutie Pie will be a natural Sivir player just because I've seen him. He liked playing it even before the rework, and now it's just immensely strong, often ban-worthy. They haven't even denied Kiwi Kid's support pool whatsoever. Like, if Dignitas doesn't do well with this team composition, they're going to be in trouble for the rest of the series.
And what is Kazmich going to go with for that support? We know he's got a couple of supports that he can play. Are we going to see that Zillion? This is what we've heard about.
Yep.
This is what he's played a bit of. Be interesting to see how that comes out because it affects the entire team.
I'm real excited about this. This will be... Yeah.
Zillion support, ladies and gentlemen.
This will be the first Zillion support I get to be a part of casting. It's happened once over in the OGN, and we've seen a lot of people talking about it because this is one of Kazmich's 3 main supports that he plays in solo queue, and it's definitely not something Dignitas has had time to play up against.
Yeah, this is definitely a change. Obviously, Nidalee coming through has had the changes in 3.14, which is what we're playing on. And just to remind you guys at home, Rengar is banned. That's why you're not seeing him banned or picked. He is banned from this tournament, which is why he's not been selected so far. Final pick for Dignitas. What will it be? Karma support is a possibility. It has been played quite a lot in the OGN over the last few days.
Yeah, so I'm expecting him to dance between maybe this and a Taric. If he picks the Karma, it's because they're trying to stack just crazy amounts of move speed already with Shyvana and Olaf. If they throw the Karma in with the Sivir ult, those guys will be almost unkiteable in the team fights. It just gives their laning much less kill potential against the Zillion, and they might end up getting bullied a little bit when they go into that lane.
And there is so much mobility in
They're
the
so
Dignitas
fast.
lineup right now.
They are such a fast team right now. They don't necessarily have that much crowd control aside from the spammed axes and the slows that Karma can throw out, but that won't necessarily matter because they're so fast. I really want to see how that works. Dignitas with the speed, and you look at Alliance, just by the fact that they have Nidalee and Lucian, that's almost perfect poke comp right from there. Lucian and Nidalee are great at just keeping the other team out of range and kiting backwards. The real question will be, is Dignitas have enough move speed to catch up to Alliance when Alliance starts poking it? But this is pretty
How do you
exciting.
break that siege? You break it with a Gragas barrel.
Yeah, if they get close enough, that's the thing. Like, Gragas Barrel does have really high range, but it's not longer than a spear, right?
Yes.
Lucian potentially is the one that can get caught in. And then there's obviously the one final wrinkle. Team fighting against a Zillion changes things because catching that one person might just be the end of
The
it.
revive pops in there and suddenly you scream at your screen. As we get set for the fight between the Alliance and Dignitas, though, remember that the Battle of the Atlantic will be continuing tomorrow. That is Sunday with Bjergsen and Team Solo Mid taking on the Lemon Dogs. Interesting to see the Peke already putting his words in there. Well, whoever wins that, Europe wins technically.
Yeah, he's saying Bjergsen is making all of TSM European, which is probably like the most American team we have. She's like, yep. European team
There's
then.
a couple of Canadians and the odd one Canadian.
Yeah, but they're like the
There's a Hawaiian, a Canadian.
they're the team that
I guess
everyone has
Hawaii
got
technically
behind.
is America, so
Hawaii's American.
Yeah.
Odd one's Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Darius, Hawaiian.
Darius is Hawaiian, yeah. Where's Wild Turtle from? They're in America somewhere.
The beach.
It's a big old country. There's a couple of 100 million of you in there. But right now, this is it. The start of the Battle of the Atlantic. Alliance, the brand new team, as the blue team up against Dignitas, the old foes maybe, in the red team. They are having to defend or invade, effectively, the home soil of Europe and see who draws first blood.
And right off the bat, I want to see if we get a 2v2 lane, because this is something I've been waiting to see from supports for a while. Kazmich has not started with a standard support item. He's went with more wards. If he can get some lane control early on, Alliance might have superior warding, which could potentially enable Shook to make a couple extra plays out of the jungle.
Already the axes being thrown, the spears going through, but nobody really landing. And going off yesterday's matches in the promotion series where Copenhagen Wolves versus Mio Makers, the invades were coming, but they weren't engaging with each other.
And in this game, yeah, if they ran into each other at level 1, we could see some action, but these aren't teams that are built for level 1. These guys are just kind of waiting out the early game, and I really want to see how the team compositions and laning phases actually take shape, because we have to mention again, Dignitas got pretty much exactly what they wanted. The only thing I could really see is, obviously, Alliance's bans were kind of haphazardly thrown around. They banned out one of Cruiser's champions in Dr. Mundo. They banned out one of Scar's champions in Kha'Zix, and one of Kiwi Kid's champions with Annie. But everyone on Dignitas goes more than one deep. They didn't really target anyone with these, and I think Dignitas is going to be incredibly comfortable here.
There's also a bit of a different start coming out from Kazmich here. He hasn't gone with the coin, which a lot of supports pretty much rely on these days.
We definitely have to see, since we have the 2v2 matchup already taking shape, where that plays out. Another thing with the Zilean support, it's like, if that comes in, importantly, how is he going to have gold in later game? How long is it going to take him to get that ancient coin?
We will see, of course. Don't forget, he'll be giving experience to the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, and that's actually the key part why a lot of people play Zilean. And Shook isn't actually going for it right now, but there's a thing you can do with Zilean support. If your jungler takes one experience quint, does the blue buff, and then the red buff straight, he gets level 3, just like in Season 3. It's something you can't do on the 2014 season. And we were talking actually with the NIP guys about that. They were telling us about Kazmich's strategy with support Zilean, but Shook is doing the slow jungle clear. He's not going for the rush level 3. He's just happy farming.
So we'll see who really goes for the first attempt, the first kill at the moment. It's a slow start, as I kind of expected between these two teams, because there's a lot of honor on the line, a lot of bragging rights on the line, and also for Alliance, a lot of hype on the line behind them. So Dignitas, there's no real pressure on Dignitas really coming into this game.
No, they're definitely the underdogs here. People aren't expecting Kiwi Kid to do well on support. Everyone is just kind of saying, oh, he died the most in the top lane. Let's just move him down to the bottom lane as support. What does that really solve? How is he going to play against world-class bottom lanes? But if there's a time for him to succeed, it's when there's not too much pressure on him, because no one's expecting him to succeed, and Tabs and Kazmich don't necessarily have world-class synergy yet, since they are also a very new duo.
But I would argue that Tabs potentially has more experience than QtPie as well, because while he obviously came in quite low, it's going to be a gank. They're going in towards Kiwi Kid. They've already put the slowdown on the bomb. Can they land the cocoon? That's going to be the important one. The cocoon doesn't land, but it's Shook that lives up to the hype and gets first blood.
That was a very impressive, just brute force gank that went through. QtPie is always going to be pushing the lane. And the fact that just the Zilean slow, which lasts very long, by the way, was enough to let everyone catch up and kill him is a dangerous thing for Dignitas. That gank will continue to happen if Alliance wants it.
Well, right now, the top lane, they're going to poke back and forward. Cruiser the Bruiser, or just Cruiser as he's known in this one, is going to struggle out against Renekton early on in these levels.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Shyvana versus Renekton matchup. You pick Shyvana against Renekton because you can keep up and farm, and then once you hit around level 8 with Shyvana, you can start outscaling. That was one of the things that happened yesterday when we saw the Renekton versus Shyvana matchup. We saw Shyvana try and fight Renekton early, and Renekton pushed him back because he has more sustain early. So Wicked should have the upper hand in this lane for a little while yet.
Oh, Cruiser has support from Crumbs coming around, but unfortunately he just passed straight through a ward. Wicked will be aware of his presence, but hasn't backed away. And Wicked, used to famously be known for basically not using wards because he had full confidence in his abilities to escape the ganks.
And he always has a great game sense of where things are coming from. This is gank number 2.
Going straight in for QtPie once again. Is the cocoon going to come through? No. This time Spell Shield was used at the right time by QtPie, and he does back away.
I still feel like that was a relatively successful gank, though, because Shook didn't take that much time. He ran directly down, got the gank off, got QtPie really low, which will have a heavy impact on the lane, and then went right back to sweeping through the jungle. So it was an efficient gank that did a pretty good job of getting QtPie low.
Kazmich taking some burst there, but no follow-up really. Kiwi Kid really targeting on Kazmich because Tabs is staying so far back in this lane.
And he can, because at the moment, there's no gank pressure from Crumbs, since Crumbs was spotted in the top lane ward by Wicked, and Kazmich is free to kind of do whatever he wants, since there's no way QtPie is committing on him because he's so low from the previous Shook gank.
Let's have a look at that mid lane. We haven't had a great deal, although saying that, Kazmich is about to get leashed out here, slowed down, but again, no follow-on. He's just going to keep on the aggression himself, and that's going to force Kazmich to back off. Didn't have to use any flash, though, to get out of that one. Crumbs is coming around to try and help out, warding that tri-bush, and there's actually no ward coverage from Alliance right now in the bottom lane.
Yeah, all of their wards are still pretty much sitting in Kazmich's inventory. He started the game with sight wards and vision wards, still got them right there. And he actually picked up a Doran shield. Since they got Kazmich so low, they're just trying to take that dragon.
Good pressure coming out. Oh, the Cocoon just flashing past on Skara, but it will be the dragon and his Dignitas that will be taking it. That's going to keep them up in gold because they have started to fall behind from lane phase.
And keep in mind, on the 2014 season, the dragon very early on in the game is worth a little bit less. You can see that was only 125 gold per Dignitas team member, and they're still down in gold in the game despite picking up that objective.
There's a big advantage now to be cleaved out on that top lane by Wicked against Cruiser. Cruiser forced on towards that turret. 15 CS behind once again. Froggen just lingering off in the bush trying to land that spear on towards Skara, but instead takes a barrel in the backside for his problems, and they have both hit their ultimates, so we'll see whether they start coming into play. Right now though, Crumbs is starting on that blue, and of course Skara is going to come across and pick it up.
And we haven't even talked about our featured matchup right here with Skara against Froggen. It seems like they're farming pretty close. Can he steal this?
Yes, he
got
can.
It. That was just a really heads-up play by Froggen and a bit of a lazy play by Skara and Crumbs. Skara was very obvious about when he was going to be going and getting his blue buff, and Froggen knew which direction Skara went so he could safely throw a spear just to check. And then Crumbs and Skara didn't time the barrel to kill right as he threw it. The spear preempted it, and Froggen got the blue.
And that, of course, gives the blue to Shook. We'll see how he uses that one, because at least, well, he can benefit from that one quite heavily. Already going for that jungle invade. He's actually going to find Crumbs at the red buff.
Yeah, this could be rather dangerous since Froggen is already pushed up. Crumbs is only level 5. Shook's going to try to combo.
He's going to go straight in there, and you can see Crumbs having to hit that ghost already to get the hell out of there. Dodge, and immediately he's going to try and follow through. Puts a lot of poison damage down onto Crumbs. That's going to force him away. Meanwhile, down the bottom, Kazmich trying to use the bomb on himself and Kiwi Kid. Tab's actually out of position, uses the Cullen, catches up perfectly. Cutie Pie uses that barrier. Is it going to be enough? Gets the Ignite down, and Kazmich hasn't hit level 6, so can't get his ultimate off, but it's going to be a double kill for Tabs.
You could see that Dignitas got caught in a bad place right there as Kiwi Kid, Nam, and Cutie Pie were just getting hit one after the other by either bombs or tabs. Yes, they got Kazmich, but that doesn't matter right there. A double kill onto tabs is going to do huge things for them in that matchup.
Just caught out of position, going too aggressive, and the culling was just perfectly lined up for them. They had to use their flashes to get out of it. So inhibitor spells, summoner spells burned out as well. Double buffs coming in towards this mid lane. Shook and Froggen trying to get on towards that tower, and that tower's actually taken a good bit of damage.
Yeah, the early game right now from Alliance has been absolutely dominating. It doesn't seem like the I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid Karma Sivir lane is working out all that well. When they were pushed up, they got ganked. When they tried to make a play, they got double killed, and they're running out of options in that bottom lane.
Well, we see the actual Ruby Crystal coming out from Tabs after that BF sword, so he went back and got himself a little bit more health, wants to keep himself a little bit more damaging, and of course the Cocoon coming in towards Skara. Actually, Shook going heavy on this one. The spear's landing. That's going to force Skara to back away.
Shook has had a much higher presence in this game so far when compared to Crumbs. You can just see all of Shook's ganks have had an impact so far, whether it's getting someone low or getting the kill, and he's been able to control the jungle with the help of Froggen.
Spears from Froggen continue to land. Crumbs is forced to back away this time, and you can see the dominance they've had, and now they're rotating around. They could push the bottom, and that's got to be a careful worrying sign, but instead, they've got free reign in this middle.
And this is a smart call because they know that both Dignitas' jungler and mid laner, Scar and Crumbs, had to go back. May as well get as much damage on the second interior tower because everyone else on Dignitas is accounted for. This is a no-risk push.
That's a hell of a lot of damage gone down as well. A good 3/4 of the health stripped off that inner turret. Meanwhile, Wicked farming between the turrets in this top lane, and you can see 100 CS to 69. Cruiser is not having a fun time up there right now.
Well, Cruiser has hit that level 9 point. He needs to find a window to go aggressive, but he just doesn't have that right now.
Skara having to dash away from this one. They're not going to land the Cocoon. He will be able to back off from that one. Meanwhile, the gank down the bottom. He does manage to land the Culling, but his Kazmich is going to get caught out. Has got his ultimate available, pops it, and he's within tower range, which means Dignitas, they can't follow through in this one. They managed to land the axes, but he's safe.
Dignitas had to give a lot of respect to Tabs' damage while the revive was timing up. I think they could have gotten a kill, but it would have costed them. And since Crumbs ganked the bottom lane, Skara doesn't have any help in this mid lane. They're going to lose that second tier turret.
That's an inner turret going down, and well, Alliance suddenly turned that aggression around to get 2 turrets along the mid lane. And Scarra's thinking, I'm going to start needing help here. We see Crumbs just off at the side of the walls, but there's not a lot of help coming from there. And looking in the top lane again, look at Wicked. He's been between these lanes the entire time, and he's just farming away like nothing ever happened to him.
Alliance is winning every facet of the game right now. They gave one dragon away, but it was early on in the game, and it's because they were just so handily winning all of their other lanes. Unless Dignitas does something drastic here, Alliance is just outplaying them.
KiwiKid has been focusing Kazmich as much as he can. He is landing the shots, but there's just not a lot of follow-up coming in right now. Every time we see the boomerang blade coming out from QtPie, it's just falling short because, of course, Kazmich only can speed himself up even if he gets slowed.
Yeah, and Kazmich not starting with that ancient coin has only cost him about 180 gold in gold generation now that he's picked it up right now. KiwiKids has gotten him about 210, whereas Kazmich is sitting around 50. So it's not that bad of a thing based on the lane advantages they were able to grab with that early Doran shield as well. Things are going well all across the map.
Well, 20 seconds until Dragon. We see Cruiser heading south, looking like they're going to try and set up for this one. But Wicked, he doesn't really care about that. He's continuing to stick in that top lane, keep farming going. Meanwhile, they're trying to get the pressure down. You can see KiwiKid's going to try and chase onto this one. He has got a good leash on towards Tabs, but pops the Cullen and could try and turn this one around. We see the most members of Alliance also coming around the side there. They know that the blue buff is up. They're going to see if they can steal it again.
And this is not a thing they can steal since Shyvana is down in the bottom lane. This is going to be something where Alliance has to concede because Wicked is getting a tower in the top lane.
We'll see how long he sticks up there. Looks like he's not going to be making any moves, so instead it is all going to be about harassing Dignitas on this Dragon. And they've got 4 members of Alliance around here with spears and the Cullen available. Actually, the Cullen's not up at the moment because he was just used. So Dignitas are going to have to try and brute force this one.
It is a 4v5. Wicked is not there yet, but we could see a fight anyway.
QtPie caught out, bomb goes in, shoot goes deep, and immediately gets caught out, but that's the Zilean ultimate once again playing its role, and it stopped them fighting the Dragon right now. They're going to chase back in. The Dragon has reset itself. They flash out of it. KiwiKid in trouble. Wicked is now joining the fray, and Crumbs is in all sorts of trouble. He's going to go down. They get across on towards Cruiser. Cruiser's going to get caught on. Froggen and Wicked will chase on this one. Meanwhile, across on the blue buff, they are chasing on towards QtPie and Scarra. Now they collapse on. That's going to be a speed buff coming out from KiwiKid. They should get away from this one. The spear's coming through. Spell shield comes out from QtPie. That will be enough to save him. And now they make claps up to Froggen. The spear's coming through. Scarra's one more barrel. He bounces across the belly slam. Scarra gets a return kill.
Even with Froggen going down, Alliance is just one step ahead of Dignitas right here. They delayed long enough by using the Zilean, and that's a lot of synergy that already exists between Shook and Kazmich, which shouldn't really be possible since they haven't been around for that long together. But Shook, knowing that he could take the death early, saving his repel until after he died, just so he could escape over the Dragon Pit, is all Alliance needed for Wicked to come all the way from the top lane and arrive at that fight. It was a 2-for-1 and a Dragon to boot.
You know, just thinking back to the last time I maybe casted a Zilean, I think it was actually Salsa for CLG back at Gamescom 2011, I think. It's a long time ago when it was mid lane, of course, when he stepped in for mid lane. And ironically was the last tournament CLG won.
Well, as long as you can get through the laning phase with support Zilean, and you don't get out-harassed or beaten down or lose out because you don't have enough sustain, the ultimate in itself is enough that the support can bring. He's also adding very good speed-ups to help counter the speed that Dignitas has from the Karma and Sivir, and things are working out fantastically.
Well, so far, let's have a look at what items they've been picking up, because yesterday we saw a couple of disparities between them, and again, Tab's now going for that Bloodthirster.
Yeah, that seems like the right thing to do. You know he's going to be going for a Trinity Force next, but based on Lucian's crazy AD ratios, getting the Bloodthirster first is the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, you compare it to what Maklik pulled out Infinity Edge, and we were quite surprised by that one. So
this is the
going with
Lucian
a
build.
standard build, and remember Tabs was famous for making the Legolas build effectively on Caitlyn was using it on.
Yeah, and Varus, and every AD carry he wanted to play. There's a lot of action brewing down in the bottom lane.
The junglers facing off, and meanwhile Wicked and Scarra are going to get back meat on in this mid lane. Shoot will be able to throw down that cocoon if he goes to get away, but the bottom lane, we see Froggen also rotating around. He's right behind these 3 pair in this bottom.
Yeah, and there's a chance that in this game, it's going to turn into Froggen Spears controlling things right now. He's getting a lot of ability power, and Alliance is almost a little too strong for Dignitas to fight heads up.
Alliance all gathering in this bottom lane. That's some good boomerangs, though, coming out from Cutie Pie. He does manage to get the spell shoot down, pops the ultimate. Is it going to be enough to turn it back around? The turret's gone down. I'm not too sure why myself, but there is 5 members of Alliance here and 5 members of Dignitas, and they want to fight. That's going to be the cocoon landing on Wicked. Wicked gets straight in amongst them all, pops it down. The culling coming behind. It's the Crumbs that manages to tank all of that damage away, and nobody going down, but a lot of ultimates exchanged.
There is not much coordination with Dignitas right now. And those spears are going to continue to crush them. Froggen gets to throw those every couple of seconds with that blue buff and the Athene's Unholy Grail. And Dignitas is down their big move speed skills right now because Cutie Pie used his ultimate for nothing.
Tabs, meanwhile, tries to keep the poke going down. This could be the second inner turret of the game for Alliance, and they keep on pushing through. There doesn't seem to be an answer from Dignitas. That was a 5-on-5, and really it was just Alliance that kept brute forcing their way in there. They have the siege minions with them. They will get wiped out by Cutie Pie, but they're up to the inhibitor turrets, and we're only 17 minutes in the game.
5 turrets to 0, D-Man. Every lane for Dignitas lost, and that's obviously a group effort. You can see this kind of stuff all the time. Is it Shook? Is it the laners? It is definitely a combination of the two. Wicked did that top lane all by himself. That was completely him just beating up Cruiser early on in the game. Shook did make multiple appearances in the mid and the bottom lane, and that has to contribute to their dominance.
KiwiKid forcing Tabs just away from this one, but it's 4 members of Alliance that have stormed this top lane and taken that final inhibitor, inner turret of the game. Wicked trying to get on, he catches on towards Crumbs. Crumbs forced to back away from that one, but it's another turret down. It's now 6-0 for Alliance.
Very rarely will you see a comeback from 6 turrets to 0. And this is the real issue that Dignitas is running into right now. They actually have a very good teamfight composition, with all the move speed that they would be able to put together so that Cruiser and Crumbs could train down people as a very strong tank line. And that's great because Alliance has a poke composition right now where Nidalee and Lucian and even Elise want to just take pot shots at Dignitas where they're the tower. And normally your counter for that with Dignitas' team is to force team fights, use a Sivir ult, and run in. But if they're down 8,000 gold, even if they fight them straight up and they don't get poked down and a fight starts with everyone at 100% health, they would still lose. They would still lose that fight.
Well, there's going to be an unhappy Scarrow as he checks out that blue buff and realizes it has been taken by Froggen once again. He hasn't actually had that blue buff, I don't feel, in this game at all.
No, Scar has had it, I think, 100% denied from him. No, he may have gotten one right before the fight where they got wiped out when Wicked rolled down from the top lane. Even so, Froggen and Shook have been all over that, and it's not really a full fault at Skara because once they lose those turrets, it becomes so difficult to control space in your own jungle.
Well, it's just shy of an 8,000 gold lead right now for Alliance. Just 19 minutes gone into this game, and Alliance are starting to have that siege. They have the poke. This is what we were talking about at the start of the game. You have the culling from Tabs. You have the spears from Froggen. And even, I guess you could say, that cocoon coming at you that you're going to have to dodge out the way of, because if that catches you, generally you're going to die following it.
And Scar's going to want to isolate someone on Alliance into the turret and blow the other guys back, and then hope that the Zillion ult isn't enough to save them. But when he gets taken that low by a couple Nidalee spears, he's not going to isolate anybody but himself.
Well, when a fat guy stops to take a drink of alcohol, it's a pretty easy target, and that is exactly what Gragas is. Right now, though, the spears are coming through, and Froggen is actually pretty low on mana, so this siege is not going to hold out much longer.
Yeah, he's only got about 2 spears left to throw. He's at 180 mana, no blue buff on him. They might think about getting more here, but they're actually in a bit of dangerous spot.
They're going to go for it. Scarra gets dropped straight away. We see the ultimate coming out from Cruiser, but the culling catching on to all the Dignitas right now. Just off of the side, Shoot gets the revive gone in from Kazmich, and, well, Alliance once again fight through that one with no problem.
Scarra tried to go in to isolate, but in getting in range, he got stunned and killed.
Shoot catches the cocoon, and that is an insta-pop on KiwiKid. That's going to be the inhibitor turret going down. They will back away from this one. I don't think they're going to go for the inhib turret, the inhib at the end. But of course, Dignitas coming back into this one. Cutie Pie doing his best to keep them at bay.
And his best just isn't good enough right now because he has just the Bloodthirster and home guard boots because they've been defending so hard. No one on Dignitas has their head held high right now.
That's the one.
I think is the one to say. Because they've just been getting dominated. 7 turrets to 0, plus the inhibitor. Scarra not even able to get his ultimate off in team fights. Cutie Pie has not had a relevant on the hunt from Sivir this entire match. And Cruiser and Crumbs, as a tank line, haven't even been able to get into damage range in most of these fights.
And you know, we were talking about Elise and Evelyn being played yesterday. Well, Elise was banned out pretty much yesterday, but now we're seeing the actual build we were expecting from Evelyn players.
Yeah, he's been able to get a lot of Magic Pen. Yes, you get the 1 tank spirit with the Golem Soul, and then you just go Magic Penetration. The Leandries is good for taking down Crumbs and Cruiser as tanks, getting that % health burn in there, and there just hasn't really even been time for the tanks to build magic resistance as well. So he's actually kind of burning them a little bit like squishies.
Well, of course, the Rabadon's death cap on towards Frog, and we did see an 840 ability power Ziggs yesterday, so I'd be amazed if we get close to that one today. We'll see if we do.
The game would have to go a little longer.
348 ability power for Froggen already, so the spears are going to be doing a lot of damage. It is Alliance once again on towards the Dragon. This time, Dignitas have no answer.
No. I mean, if Dignitas didn't have an answer at the last inhibitor, I mean, look at this. What just happened? It's an 11,000 gold lead, 22 minutes in. Dignitas has to start thinking about regrouping right now because Alliance gave Dignitas kind of what they wanted and just had a much better plan for it.
Well, I mean, let's be fair to the top lane. Renekton versus Shyvana. Renekton will win those opening couple levels, which has happened. Skara getting caught out. He's going to go down. He's dropped before he gets a chance. The culling was what finished him off, which is something you don't often see, by the way. Tabs does have to get away from that tower damage, but again, it's the cocoon that starts everything off.
And the siege will continue. Wicked actually face-taking that turret. They don't care.
Wicked taking low, but of course, don't forget the revive from Kazmich is there if they need it. So at the moment, it is going to be another inhibitor turret going down. Finally, they are going to move on to the inhibitors this time. The middle one completely exposed as well, so they're just going to rotate around as soon as they take this one down. And Dignitas are going to be 2 inhibitors down and in dire, dire trouble.
And only 23 minutes into the game. It's a total regroup right now. The confidence is through the roof at the point for Alliance. Dignitas is trying to chase through. They're on as fast as they can. I don't think they can finish off anybody.
I don't think they can either. They slice and dice away from Wicked. We saw Tabs getting caught out, but the speed boost from Kazmich straight away. Shook throwing out those spiders, and honestly, Crumbs, if he keeps chasing this one, I think they may turn around on him. Already Wicked, that big front tank-loaded Renekton will just turn back on towards him, force him away. They force him far enough outside the base that they could actually fight.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to initiate if you're Dignitas, but I don't know if they can get anywhere close.
Shook's just off at the side. He's waiting to try and land one of those cocoons. We see the ward coming down from Crumbs. He's actually passing straight by a ward. The cocoon will be thrown out, but he will not find its target. And Dignitas back away.
I'm really trying to figure out here what Dignitas does in the next matchup. Because Scar was on his Gragas. Froggen's Nidalee isn't something he's even played too much of. The spears have obviously been huge for him. I think you actually throw in a Nidalee ban just because it kind of gets rid of the poke. And then if you're Dignitas, you just try and pick stronger early game laners. Because Alliance has proven in this game how well they can really choke out Dignitas once they get an early lead.
I was just wondering, Crumbs in that top lane was pushing through, and he's actually 4 levels behind Wicked now. Wicked doing a fantastic job in that top lane, been charging up on his own, been doing a fantastic job, pretty much free farming that top lane as well. 231 CS to 170 now, so he's a long way ahead in terms of farm and has got the tank build required, the Sunfire Cape, the Randian's Omen, and now the Hex Drinker. There's no lot that's going to stop Wicked jumping on them.
And let's not forget the gold value of the level advantage and how much that is being aided by Kazmich's 8% experience boost on Zilean. Every level you get on a champion is worth somewhere between 500 and 700 gold. And the level advantages across the board on Dignitas are about 2 levels per role. So it's not just the 12,000 gold, it's all the levels and experience too.
Well, Froggen's running interference, throwing out the spears along with Wicked. It's a 3-man Baron, and really there's not a great deal that Dignitas can do about this. They're trying to get close, but now the Baron already is on them, and they're going to be turning and running from this one because Wicked and Froggen, the old EG partnership, are looking for kills.
Yeah, they're playing this one out right now. They can do almost anything they want. Wicked's going in by himself. Everyone's trying desperately to catch up to him so they can have part of the party.
snaps that dominance, and it's a 5-man chase from Wicked. He's tanking up 2 turrets as well. The spears keep on coming through, but he is just so strong. It's QtPie they're going to single out. The barrel comes out, but from Skara, already dropped. Tabs gets in there, and Dignitas are just melting away from this one. Alliance have absolutely dominated game 1. Europe will take the first victory here. Alliance, 26 minutes into this game, have looked unstoppable against Dignitas.
Yeah, that's the word for it, D-Man. That could not be a better debut for a new squad there. Froggen is really happy after this one, and they're looking extremely potent coming into game 2.
Wow, what a performance. We weren't sure how they were going to be. We knew they were a new team. We knew there was a lot of hype behind them, but boy, they seem to live up to it against Dignitas there. And Dignitas, well, they're going to have to regroup. You talked about it during the game. They must have been talking about it during the game already. It's like, what are we going to do? We got our picks. That's just devastation and shock on Skara's face.
He's not even talking right now. Usually, that's like the Skara face.
That's the Skara face. I just don't know.
Yeah, he just doesn't know what happened. And I'm not really sure what happened either, because games that dominating shouldn't happen for pro teams at that point. You want to figure out where it happened on Alliance. They're obviously really happy about it, but when it's that one-sided, you can't pinpoint one thing. It's like, oh wow, Shook just did everything in that game, or Froggen dominated the mid lane and there was no recovering, because it happened all over the map. That's how it got.
It was 3 lanes, all
so
being
quickly.
lost. The first obviously came in, Shook ironically missed the cocoon, but he got the kill regardless. And there was just constant action from Alliance. The blue buff steal from Froggen, the spears, everything, like you said at the time. Skara was very lazy in showing that, and maybe that's just Dignitas needing to wake up coming into game 2.
Yeah, at least they have a best of 3 to play here. It's not like they're one and done, but they got to wake up pretty fast. We got maybe 5 or 10 minutes before that next game. They have to rethink their champion pools maybe. Like, it's so strange because they got what they wanted. They got a tank for Cruz. They got Olaf for Crumbs, who was banned every game yesterday in the promotion tournament. Scar got to play Gragas. I'm a QtPie got to play Sivir. Like, what else are they going to do?
What else
I'm
can
worried
they
for
do?
Dignitas here.
Well, I mean, honestly, this was almost an expected result. This is what everybody was predicting. They are the underdogs coming into this game. So let's not get carried away, because TSM
And it is
could be the
it is supposed to be the
reverse.
European super team here. I mean, that was pretty super, as far as I can tell.
That was pretty damn impressive. We're going to have to take a quick break, but when we return, Froggen and Alliance look to end the first fight in the Battle of the Atlantic with one more win. Game 2 between Dignitas and Alliance is going to be coming up right after this.
Welcome back to the 2014 Spring Split Promotion Tournament and the Battle of the Atlantic. And before we get to the second game between Dignitas and Alliance, I'd like to welcome back Pique to talk about what he saw in Game 1. And of course, I'm joined by Trevor here. And the first thing I actually wanted to highlight is that the consensus between us was, in picks, Dignitas has made a really solid composition.
Yeah, they really got very strong champions. And I know I was particularly terrified of the Olaf-Shyvana combo with the speed up from Zillion, from Sivir, and the speed up from Karma. I mean, that chasing potential in a 5v5 had me thinking this game was basically, on paper, in the bag for Dignitas. But they did need time to get. They needed Shyvana and Olaf to get tanky enough to stay alive while chasing down Alliance, and it just didn't really happen.
Yeah, I think the same. They needed to play the early safe, like really safe. They didn't even need to win it. They could lose by some farm, and they will have a still win mid-game. Because at that point, Shyvana and Olaf are so tanky that Nidalee cannot spear them. She's not going to do anything. So they can just run in front of everyone, rush to Nidalee, rush to Lucian, and who's going to stop them with the 600 movement speed they get or something like that.
Yeah, and there you highlight actually what the big problem was for Dignitas coming in that early game. Shook on Elise just put so much more pressure down, especially on that bottom lane, while Crumbs on Olaf didn't.
Yeah, the first gank from Shook was crazy good. He does the rappel to the creep, and instead of trying to E, he flashes Q out attack to apply the red buff, which means the support was dead, the Kiwi was dead. Even if he flashed, he was dead already, so it was a great gank. They got a kill already, and after that, he kept putting pressure while Crumbs couldn't really do anything. He tried to gank top, didn't do anything. He just walk around and didn't achieve anything.
And don't forget the 2-for-1 as well. You know, a couple minutes later, they just, traded support for a double kill on Tabs' Lucian. I mean, he came back into lane. He had that massive BF sword advantage. The culling timed perfectly, and it was little things that just kept getting Alliance further and further ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually have a replay that illustrates for me the story of the game really well.
Yeah, actually, the replay that we've got lined up, it is at about 13 minutes on the clock. Let's pull this one up on your screen so you can actually see the lay of the land. And it was this team fight that really sealed the game in my mind as a win for Alliance, because they completely controlled the tempo of it. They stalled out long enough that Dignitas has very little impact. And Peke, talk us through it. Let's start this replay and tell me what you see.
Well, first of all, I feel like Dignitas is not committed enough. They know the Renekton was top. There are 5 guys there, and they are like just trying to poke setup. That's really bad. Like, there are 2 guys doing the Drake only. The Gragas is trying to poke a Nidalee that has heal and more poke than Gragas, and they are leaving Renekton time to come back to the fight, which is really bad. So pretty much what they are doing is wasting time, doing nothing, and just wandering around.
So let's carry on with the replay, and as you look on the minimap, you'll see that Wicked with Renekton's coming in very close. And I love this little stall tactic by Shook. He goes in with the revive from Zillion, and again, it just makes Dignitas try to focus him, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I think they just got completely baited. Like, he went in on the Cocoon on the Sivir, put her super low, and they use everything on her, and they don't hit anything. They just got kited. Plus, people was flashing away from all their skill shots. They didn't do any damage before the fight started, and Sivir was almost dead. Gragas was half HP, and they just kept chasing now.
There is something I definitely want to highlight at this point in the game, is that it's 13 minutes in, and we see a big 5v5 around Dragon at 13 minutes on the clock. We were talking about how the strength of Dignitas' composition was going to take some time to build up, and was going to take a couple of levels and some items for their big 5v5 to work. But it was like a quasi 5v5. There was 5 Dignitas in the middle. Alliance was spread. They came in and out, and I think they played it very well, considering they had the strength at the early stages.
Yeah, they did. They should. I think no. Dignitas should just go with another mentality. Like, we don't have to force objectives. We don't have to do anything. We have to go almost equal until minute 20, and then after that, just beat them in teamfights. That's what they do. But they just fight there early. They got poked. They got outplayed in the Dragon. Like, I think they could have played that much better. And after that, it was over pretty much.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to see if Dignitas can bring it back, if they talk about it, and maybe put some pressure on Alliance in the next game. But now that you've heard what we had to say, let's see why you answered our Twitter question of the day. Of course, earlier we asked you which region will win the Battle of the Atlantic and why. And here's what you had to say. Our first tweet is from @Tarasolol, and he says, Europe will win the Battle of the Atlantic. Both regions are strong, but mentally, the EU players are stronger and perform better under pressure.
It's an interesting statement, I think. I think if you're talking about the mentality of players, seeing how many events and seeing how, to be honest, EU tends to want to brag to be the best. Like, whenever we see these events happening, it's always the EU players that are like, we want to beat NA, we want to win, we want the hype.
Doublelift never brags.
You know, but I definitely think when it comes to the regional warfare, EU takes a step up. When it comes to individual warfare, I think the Americans beat us in that front.
And our second tweet is from @ThatRussianLad. He says, NA will win because Cloud9 Medias will carry the first place match up to victory with the new jungle changes. Maybe something for Peke.
I think Cyanide will do a lot better than Meteos. Cyanide is playing really good, and I think he will do a lot better.
All right, looking forward to that matchup. And then the last one is @TheHillionaire. He says, NA, well, they've had a good history versus Europe, and Bjergsen is bringing over his knowledge of Europe, which TSM can capitalize on.
Yeah, but he's just saying NA is going to win because of a European player. That's a quasi-victory for us anyway. But we'll have to see. They are playing Lemondogs tomorrow. I know I'm a little nervous to see how the Lemondogs perform, but that unknown factor could definitely play into their favor as well.
Absolutely. Now keep those answers coming. I love me some good smack talk. And remember, we're @LOL Esports, and be sure to use the hashtag LCS. All right, now let's send it over to D-Man and Jad for Game 2 between Dignitas and Alliance.